Remove it. The 28th of April, 2025. Remove it, I was ordered, but I hesitated. I had already written it down. God is the one who judges the devil. Who said I wanted to judge him? This is an attempt at doing that. Who said what was just said? There are times when things that are blasphemous and sinful would be said. If this is not an attempt at judging the devil, it's an attempt to limit such things from happening. Why would humans, other than me, I don't care about myself, be compelled to hear such things? It is one of the usual and often provoking statements that are used by devils all the time. No one would speak a blasphemous word other than devils, and even if a human speaks something blasphemous, it is because a devil whispered it in his ear, or caused him to be incited with such a statement. The human is not to blame for such a statement, unless he utters it with his mouth. However, even when the human utters it with his mouth, the devil is guilty for tempting him to sin. This will not contain blasphemies. Fear of blasphemy. What else? There are 1,000 topics that could be written about. Why the devil? It is normal for the one guilty of all sin to be condemned and persecuted for such guilt. Subhanallah al-Hakam al-Adl. Even when the devil is to be put on trial, the feeling of being held accountable prevails. You alone know this, but if during such a feeling the arrogance and pride sin was committed, then it is any of your servants' right to bring judgment upon the devil. Maybe I'm trying to hasten it for some reason that I don't understand, but he should have felt fear of you, that he will claim to have in order to escape your punishment. The accursed devil lies through his teeth. He doesn't fear the Lord. If he did, he would not be laughing about the sin he caused. Whenever a human sins, during that moment after the sin has been committed, the devil would be laughing about it and laughing for the fate that the human would supposedly merit after transgressing against God. Should such an attitude be considered a neutral attitude? If he did fear the Lord, why would he even incite people to sin in the first place? He lies through his teeth. If he only says what he says to escape punishment, then anyone who says something to avoid punishment would also be ignored. Do you sympathize with the devil? Never. The devil is not to be sympathized with. If people are being punished throughout their lives for the sins that they committed, whether incited by the devil or by their own selves, then why would the devil not be attacked during this life? Why would he not be a target by people wishing harm on him or stripping him off of whatever useless ability he has? Why would no one do me the honor of provoking the devil in righteousness? If he says after inciting people to do evil that he is innocent of the guilt, then why would no human reply or attempt to counter that allegation? He is not innocent. He has free will, just as humans have free will. Otherwise, he would only be a tool or a natural occurrence who is not to be considered to have a consciousness. The devil has free will, and he will be judged based on his free will by God on the day of judgment. Everyone will be judged by God on the day of judgment. That never stopped people from asking for closure and retribution to the murderer, the killer, and the rapist. Even though he will be judged on the day of judgment, why should people suffer the sin in their life alone? The sin that they were incited to commit, which they had no motive to do. If the devil has time to scheme and to plan some action, it means that he has a will to do it. Free will is dependent on intention. If a person's intention is evil, then his free will would cause him to draw a path and plan to ensure the evil is committed in a way that would fulfill his intention. If the devil had no free will, he would not be able to demonstrate an intention. The devil's first sin was caused by arrogance and pride. He refused the command of God and thought himself better than humans. Filled with pride and arrogance, he plotted to have them cast away from heaven like he was when he was cursed by God. It is not negotiable that those who follow in the footsteps of the devil would be cursed like he was, would be turned into devils like him, and would be thrown in hell with him. Those who follow his footsteps would be those who disobey out of pride and arrogance, saying, "Why would we worship God? Why would we obey his command?" If this is not arrogance and pride, then what is? It would be very displeasing to think for a second that a person would resemble the devil for disobeying God's command immediately. Had God not known the devil's heart and why he did not obey him, then the whole situation would have been different. It was not exactly because he did not obey the command, but because he thought he was better than to do it. God even knew what the devil was thinking at the time. Even his reasoning was not hidden from God. If each one of the deadly sins were a light bulb that could be visible, each one of them would indicate the motivator of such action, or the cause of each thought. The devil's arrogance and pride were the light bulb that caused his curse after being tested with the command, and he disobeyed. God judges his creatures based on their intentions and their free will. The devil chose to utilize his free will to become arrogant and prideful. Humans cannot know the heart or what another is thinking, therefore their judgment is based on action. The devil cannot be commanded to do something by God. God allows him to do whatever he does. God does not command him because God does not command sinners who attempt to cause people to stray from the right path. Hadn't the devil been there when God created Adam? Then he surely knows the right path that God chose for humans to follow. Yet he causes them to deviate from that path and schemes and plots for that to happen. Why would humans not attempt to deduce the devil's attempt and avoid deviating from the right path? They say you can't hold the devil accountable for such things. If it is similar to the inability to prove something we cannot see, then I am willing to do it. The best strategy to deal with an enemy, especially an enemy you cannot see, is to work towards stripping it off of all the things they take for granted. We cannot see him, but if we preemptively attack in order to disarm, we would be able to severely damage. The devil will lose the battle. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن حزب الله هم الغالبون, which means those who act on behalf of God will always be victorious. God's army will always prevail.